Welcome to Blacklogic. I just want to quickly go over reparations because I know a lot of times with all the different segments of information, mass media, even from the black media, the numerous of stories that we get, we understand that the ultimate goal is reparations and replacing the system of white supremacy with a system of justice. And I just kind of want you to have this thought in the back of your mind when it comes to other groups receiving reparations. And most notably, I would like to compare it against Native Americans, those 500 federally recognized tribe that receive a stipend, a large stipend from the government each and every year and each and every month, and then throughout the entire year by many other sources. So when we talk about reparations, I think a lot of times people are like, well, what does reparations look like and how much it's going to be? And I've seen figures from 16 trillion to 100 trillion, where the first initial down payment to black Americans is roughly $2 million dollars, and then monthly stipends after that. Because when we talk about cash support or cash reparations, right, it also can include not taking away from the money, okay, not taking away from the cash payment essentially, but also may include scholarships, investments in communities. And my thing is investments. I don't want a loan. There should be grants, not loans, right? Those things can help in as well in those particular areas. Education, funding to our schools. All these are pivotal, not just us utilizing the reparations payment that is owed to us for our community, but using our tax dollars as they describe, as they should be used, right, in our own communities and neighborhoods. We know for a very long time that they used to transfer wealth through the lack of taxes, meaning black people getting taxed higher, and then their tax dollars not going back to their communities, they're going to other communities like the white communities. Okay? But education is key as well. Now, all of these are different foundations of economic freedom as well as economic empowerment. What about healthcare? Learning nutrition and having adequate healthcare where doctors not being discriminatory in their practices or their prescriptions, right? That goes back to replacing that with the system of justice. All this, in a sense, family, is reparations because black folk, just like anybody else, but should have adequate access to health care, to good health care, okay? Justice reform, right? Dismantling the whole system of white supremacy and replacing it with a system of justice. Because some people like to believe that mass incarceration still does not happen. Yes, it's still in effect. It's still in effect. Majority of black Americans are the ones in jail 3-1 to other groups, right? We're anywhere from 15 to 17% of the population, which is the third largest population according to the demographics on the Census Bureau, that we're the third largest population, but we have the highest population of inmates or incarcerated or imprisoned people. What about housing equality, right? Discrimination is real in the housing market. I know you guys have been sending a lot of YouTube videos talking about if one of the, if it's a black couple or if it's a mixed couple, that when the appraiser comes over, you got to hide all of your black pictures. You got to hide all the pictures that, essentially is your identity. You have to hide your identity when selling your homes in some areas. So a lot of these discriminatory races and bias and bigoted and bigotry that this country have been through, this is a toll, and it keeps adding up and adding up. And you'll have people from other communities, and unfortunately some within the black American community, come out and state, well, we don't need reparations. We need to do X, Y, and Z. See, it's not a matter of you needing a particular thing, even though we do need it. But what about what you're owed? Because I can guarantee you this, and this is the way we have to look at it sometimes. If your father or mother done some work, was treated brutally, and around the world, these same and different types of people were given reparations for their suffering by another nation, by another people, They get monetary grants. They get all these other resources, right? Not just money, but including direct cash payments. Then we're not asking for something that has not already been done 100 times over. We are essentially demanding what you owe us. And we are the descendants of those people. Just as well, there's inheritance, there's trust, and all these things that people leave. Our history is not a secret. Everybody knows what we've been through. So this is not something we're essentially asking. You already recognized it. So what's preventing you from paying up? We're just talking reparations, right? Black businesses, how you undermined black businesses, you destroyed black towns. You did all of these things to keep black people at the economic floor. So I really want our people to think about that. Like even those who are doing financially well, yeah, you did some things to set yourself up nicely. But you know, in this country, because of all the bigotry and anti-blackness and white supremacy and racism and discrimination, you guys know all the words, right? If you know there's a larger roadblock in front of us than any other group, then you should be one of the biggest celebrators, the biggest promoters of reparations. You lose nothing. See, that's what I don't understand. Social media is a great thing, and social media is also a hindrance to the Black Empowerment movement because we have a lot of yahoos on here talking about, well, we should be doing this and we should worry about black on black crime. But they don't just say it to the black community; they say it to each and every other community. You don't hear white people come out and say, on a mass majority, what about white on white crime? Even though they commit most of the crimes. Just look at the FBI crime report. They commit the most crimes. Who are the ones who are most wrongfully accused? Black people. Who are the number one clients of the innocent projects around the nation? Black people. So that should go and tell you something there. So we definitely need equality in housing. We need justice reform because we all know redlining and how they use that to segregate people. Then they start building highways through black communities to separate us once again so they can divide and diminish the black power vote. Yeah, they did all these things. And guess what they're doing now? They just renamed it, family. They just renamed it gentrification. Yeah. They come into low impoverished areas, right? Because now all the white people with money and all the Asian people with money and some boule people with money, they want to come in to the city to enjoy all the festivities where, our forefathers and ancestors were once living to access to jobs. So now those people with all those high paying jobs and positions and businesses want to move closer into the city or move in the surrounding suburbs where you guys live. And they just offer the owner probably 2 times as much as it's worth. They wait till everybody lease lapse. They don't renew it. You all have to move out. And in this one region, this one block, this one apartment building, this one housing area was majority black. So they tell you, no, we're going to sell the house. We're going to condemn the building. And now everybody, once again, has to disperse. So that community, that neighborhood is no longer there because everybody's moving to the four winds. Not everybody's going to move to the exact same place. That's not the way it works. And you know how they destroy the black businesses. A lot of people just thinking now, oh, they're destroying the black businesses by the way of Ethiopians, by the way of Arabs, by the way of Indians, by the way of all these other groups that once were in the black community, black. But now there's something that you can't even relate to. That's where we are now, are we not? So a lot of these things of encompassing this all-inclusive, rainbow-colored America is not beneficial to black Americans. And it has not been. See, when they first started dropping off the Vietnamese, the Cambodians, and this is not against any other group. I'm just giving you the facts as I see them. When they started getting off, they started dropping Asian folk off in black communities. And then all of a sudden, the loans in the black community changed from a fixed rate to a balloon rate to an arm, where those rates start to adjust by themselves. And they're like, well, wait a minute, I thought I had a fixed rate. Oh, you had a fixed rate for a certain amount of years, Mr. Jones. But after that third year, you should have read the fine print, even though he probably did, but it was such a long time ago. But now they can't afford the loans of the property that they were building. What about the other side of things? They squeeze them out of their property. You guys are seeing stories now. There's this old lady, I think she's in her 90s, and they're building all these new houses around her, and they want her land. And she's like, I'm not selling. She's like, I'm not selling my house or my land. So they came to her a couple of times offering her, what the house was worth, a little bit more, what the house was worth. She's like, hey, I don't want to sell. So now they say that some of the land that she's on is actually not hers, and they're trying to take her to court. So there's a lot of people in the black community supporting her, which is very good. But this is how they take ownership of our communities, of the things that our ancestors have bought or we have built, and we're trying to own and operate within our own neighborhoods. No, but they'll let everybody else come in with these great low loans and sell to you the most jinkiest products, sell to us the things that most likely to kill us. Because in every gas station, there's liquor and 40s and all those things. It's not just going to the grocery store or the liquor store anymore. And if that's your pleasure, hey, I'm not against that. But my point is, no matter how much money they take from our communities, please don't feel bad. Please do not think that these people from these different cultures, which is very important, are going to pour that money back into the black community. It just won't happen. Because here's an opposing favor. What if you were them? What if you were them? What if you was in their neighborhood? Let's say you was in an Indian neighborhood and you owned a store, and the Indian, the Indian East Indians are coming to you, bartering with you, buying, merchandise from you, and you're making a killing. The question is, would you pour back into that community, or would you take it back to your black community to have a better, group economic system there, versus pointing to another community that you're not familiar with, that you don't feel comfortable in, that you don't feel like? And some of you are like, yeah, why don't they start their business in their own communities? That's not the way America is. You have to understand that as black Americans, we are always under subjugation of some sort. Some people may not believe that, oh, we're oppressed and you just need an X, Y, and Z, where they've never started a business as a black person. They never try to get lending for their business as a black person. Even with a 780 to 800 credit score, even with the debt to income ratio low on debt, okay, high on income, there's this some discriminatory factors and barriers there. I mean, maybe not everybody experienced that, but ask a couple of black people who've been in business for a while and see how that turns out. What about teaching our history? Now, family, we can't depend on anyone to teach our history to our children or even to ourselves. We cannot stop learning. We have to continue to read so we can be a powerful force. We have to be. We teach our son about our history, and it's very important. You see what Florida has done. They burning books. This is back in Nazi days where they used to just take all the books and burn them. Instead of burning them, family, they're just not even putting it in the books anymore. They're ordering new editions. There's no black history, but there's everybody else history inside those books. And we all know you can't tell American history without black history because they're one and the same. They're one and the same. They're going to run right through American history. They're like, how was America founded? We're still talking about Columbus Day, even though Native Americans were already here. Think about things like that. They're still calling it Columbus Day. Now they got Columbus/Indigenous Day. What? We already established that Columbus did not discover America. He wasn't even the first person here. But why are we still having that on our calendars? Once again, if we understood the system of white supremacy, we understand they take off both sides of the argument. But we have to continue to counter those things with truth. So you have to teach your own kids, your own family, and yourself our history. When it comes to politics, family, you know where I'm at. I'm right in the middle. I'm apolitical because either the Republicans or the Democrats promise reparations, because that's why it has to come. It has to come with a public promise of reparations and what those reparations are. That will empower black folk. Some people think with black folk, we need all these other things before we get the money to empower ourselves. What's the one thing you need in America to do every single thing that these folks are talking about? You need money. We need more money to education. Okay, black people need money. But I don't want people to get confused with needing money and the money that they owe us. Because then they're like, oh, you need money, so you just begging the government for money. You ain't working for it. That's what they're talking about. And then we get into reparations. They start talking about business loans. There's no loans. They're just grants. No loans, just grants. Because you're granting everybody else money. Now we're seeing the amount of funding that's coming out the American government to all these groups who are not even American. Billions of dollars to Ukraine, and you already know billions of dollars are going to go to Israel. Because, as the president stated, America stands with Israel. That's what he said. But family, I'm telling you, whatever political party, not saying that they will, I think that's a stretch, but as the desperation grows, it's very possible for one of the two sides to offer reparations. And quite frankly, that's the side I'll go with. You have to pressure these two political systems because we can't leverage them, right? Because we can't get, unfortunately, leveraging money. But we understand that the vote is the most powerful, it's the most freest thing that we could use as our leverage versus money. Other groups, they give money, they got lobbyists, they persuade politicians, they fatten their pockets, they give them vacations, they give them gifts. They let some of their siblings and sons and daughters into colleges. You know, it's a whole networking system of corruption, but it works for them, right? So how do we get what I want? I'm telling you, it's the vote. I don't mean go vote. I mean, it's your vote. And so if no political party is talking about reparations, then why are we talking? You guys know what type of system we're in. And it's been this way since 1865. The second after slavery. Unequal access to education. Right? There was a time where they allowed us to be educated in the late 1800s, but they stopped that for trades. They no longer want us to know trades because they was like, well, we still gonna have black people to work for us. Then when they realized we started gaining wealth because of all the trades we had, because we were doing all the work in America, they stopped that in schools. Nowadays, because of the 21st century, we have employment discrimination. And family, some of you just wake up and you don't even know you're gonna get fired or not. And they're gonna give you some bull jive reason on why you got fired. Now, granted, I'm not stating every black person that got fired didn't deserve to get fired. Not stating that. But those who knew that they didn't do anything to get fired, they understand. They probably met their quota and they hired too many black people. I'm just, hey, if you listen, the Army does demographics. So does the corporate world. They do demographics as well. I see you, OG, Jermaine Anderson. I see you guys. And we already kind of went over the criminal justice system, went over healthcare disparities, right? housing discrimination. And then we talk about, which it's kind of one of those low subjects on the totem pole, environmental racism, right? Where they build these chemical factories and wood factories by your home, knowing that it's going to toxify the air, is going to contaminate the soil. We've been going through that. Just think about all the things. The Red Summer of 1919. I'm just going to name a couple. I'm not going to go down the whole list. The Red Summer of 1919. The burning of towns during that. What about the flooding and sinking of towns? What about that? I wanted to do a video of all the times in history that was recorded of a black man being wrongfully accused of sexually harassing, sexually assaulting a white woman. I wanted to do a video like that because the act itself or the accusation itself wouldn't be the main point of, that broadcast. You know what would be the main part of that broadcast, family? The ramifications of that accusation. That makes sense? Not the accusation itself. Oh, this black guy, he sexually harasses white women in an elevator. The ramifications of that accusation have we seen through history on history and many a times where towns were destroyed as well as people being killed because of those accusations. We're still seeing police brutality. So when I think about people, the correlating factors between police brutality and voter suppression and voter ID laws, how now don't take this the wrong way. Both sides are equally wicked. Okay? Let's just put the disclaimer out. Both sides are equally wicked. With that said, the Democrats, they have fear-mongered black people in damn near every election, whether they won, or they lost. They fear-monger us because somehow they have us believing that the Republicans are being racist because they want people to have identification when they're voting for the United States president. Family, some buildings you can't go in. When you buy certain items, you need identification. You have to go in Costco with a club member card. So like, yeah, it's because it's a club. Well, the American voting system is a club too, meaning you have to be a citizen with an ID. It's that simple. I don't know, if you drive in a car, you need a driver's license. If you're driving an 18-wheeler, you need a different classification driver's license, CDL. If you are a nurse, you need an ID, you need a license. Everything you do in this country, you need a license. You need an ID, a form of identification to tell someone you're licensed and or not, or whatever it may be. Just an identification of this is who I am according to the government. So with that being said, how are voter ID laws discriminatory towards black people? Oh, well, not a lot of black people got money to go get IDs. What? Family, everybody has an ID. Every black American has an ID. They either lost it, it expired, and if it's a driver's license, they got revoked. But we all had ID. It's not a big thing. I don't know why we keep saying that. I think once again we're feeding into these political narratives that has us boxed into believing that one political party is for us and the other one is against us, so thus we should vote for said party. At the end of the day, family, we know this is about capital and the lack therein. You hear a lot of people on social media stating their disdain for their employer and for their job and their careers. How do we surpass that? How do we get by that? A lot of black people want to own and operate their own businesses. We're not going to get into saturation of markets in different industries. We're not going to talk about, S corp versus LLC. I'm not getting into that. But in order for us as a group to move forward economically, yes, we have to do our part, grind, get a job, keep a career, etc. But part of your civic duty to the Black American community is support the reparations march, to support the reparations movement. And let me tell you the different many ways how you can support the movement. If you are anti-reparations and you're a Black American and you're a descendant of slaves, the way you support the reparations movement is not to say anything at all. And again, free country, freedom of speech, all those good things. But if you say you want to help black people in general, then don't be anti-reparations, at least publicly. Then those who are pro-reparations and you believe that this country owes us a debt as the descendants of American slaves, then you support it however you can, supporting political figures that may be reparationists, whether it be at your local town hall, your aldermen, city councilmen, etc., your governor, your senator, all those good things. Then support them. If you got $1 to give to support that reparations forward, then do so. If you got time to give your time. If you got your voice to give your voice. Speak out. All those things are helping the movement towards reparations. And we should not let the word reparations in the form of cash payments die out of our mouth, right? Some of us, we get so bombered down, we get so tired and frustrated because, yeah, we've been fighting for reparations this long, they ain't gonna give it to us. That is when we're probably close to getting it, when a large proportion of black people start to give up with the idea of reparations. That's what they're waiting. They're time wasting for us to get tired. Because this is one of the few times in history, family, that we're going to be this close where they're actually making task forces. They're actually talking about legislation, right? But we're far from executionable legislation in the form of cash direct payments, but we have it in their mouths. We have it on their mind. They're fearful of what we may not do if we don't give reparations. See, we go to a lot of these forums, we go to a lot of these town halls, and we're telling these politicians the problem over and over and over and over and over again. We no longer have to tell them the problem. You see what I'm saying? As a conglomerate group, if we all start speaking the same thing, then there's no argument, right? We go there, we tell them about racism, discrimination, police brutality, illegal immigration, all these things, right? All the problems. What if we just went in and said reparations, direct cash payments? That's the answer for everything, right? And then when we get them on the bid of reparations, okay, what do these cash payments look like? Then we drop the hammer on them. And we don't retreat. We don't change our message. We stay steadfast. Because that's what we want in their mouths. Reparations, direct cash payments. Right? Once we know we're getting cash in hand, that business you wanted, we're getting closer to that business. That legacy you wanted, that family inheritance that you wanted for your children and their children, we're getting closer to that. But if the only thing we're going up to these political pundits and places and we're only talking about what this system has done to us, family, let me tell you, they already know. We need to start changing that argument, changing our vernacular, and start speaking the message of power, reparations. Because what we fail to understand is all those other things you're thinking about that the black community needs, those things are handled with money. Whether it's coming from a governmental system to that system or from the citizen to the system. We'd rather have the money in our pocket so we can dictate our future. We can start our businesses. We can buy our homes. We can acquire land. We can do what we want to do with the money that is owed to us versus you trying to go through some system and say, oh, we're going to give it to education. Oh, we're going to give it to healthcare just for black people. No, 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 no. Put that in our damn account. So, family, that's what I have for you guys today. Nice to see everyone come out. Wow. You guys have a good one. Be one.